for coming here and for the invitation. First of all, I want to excuse myself if my English will get a little bit rusty. I don't have so much practice now, but I'll try to do it in the right way. So I'm writing my presidential campaign now, but I still came here for a couple of days because I really think that the relations between our countries are very important, and this is something to talk about, trying to rule them out, and to find solutions for both of our countries. So first I will begin with sharing my opinions on the situation in Russia, and then I hope you will have questions and we can talk with each other on all those issues. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be here today to present my vision of the future of Russia to such a distinguished audience. The so-called Kremlin report issued last week is an excellent starting point for such a discussion, since it pencils a strategy towards Russia, a massive alienation of its elite, a cut of all possible contacts with the Russians, except for the critical ones, almost a boycott. I share your deep concern about Russia's behavior and foreign policy that vigorously revived the worst memories of the Cold War. You may know that in Russia a lot of people who are as much unhappy with what is going on as I am adopt a similar individual strategy. Some prefer not to meddle in politics at all, others immigrate from Russia. What I do not share, though, is a strategy of oblivion or retreat in the safety of private life. Because private life is not safe anymore, nor could anyone remain untouched and untamed when almost every day we have to make a difficult ethic and moral choices, as the one if to go to the polls on the March 18th or to boycott the election. This is why I go and chose my own way. For myself, I have chosen a strategy of action. It is a very simple strategy, and you all know it if you happen to take metro here, for example, in the Washington area. Remember, there is a public ad on security. If you see something, say something. So this is actually what I think I will be doing. This is it. I see something in Russia, and I will say something in Russia. And I'll tell you now what it is. What I see is a country that looks by no means normal. There is no rule of law in Russia. The national parliament, the state Duma, immediately passes retroactive and ad hominem laws that benefit only a bunch of people close to President Putin. Russia's economy is wildly controlled by the state. Public service has become the most profitable kind of business. These days, Russia is a society of individuals on the one hand and the state on the other hand, with a yawning emptiness between them. What is striking is a phenomenal lack of trust between people. There is no solidarity, and collective actions, probably except for the volunteer movement and charity, are deeply compromised. Russia is a country of atomized citizens confronted by a monolithic elite that pertains national wealth. Against it, there is a competition toward distrustful and unfriendly Russian opposition, unfortunately. The weaknesses of Russia's society now emerge as a fertile soil for conservative ideology. Why did the authoritarian rule relax in Russia? I can name at least two reasons why that happened. First, Russia is not an exception here, and we must all understand that. A sort of nostalgia for paternalistic state is common for all post-Soviet states. Populism is on the rise in Poland, in Hungary, in the Czech Republic, in Belarus. Although these countries are all different, what is common about their rulers is that they all seek to restore some mythical, full sovereignty through protection against external threats. These people are masters of demagogy and second to none in inventing imaginary external threats. For the Kremlin, it is the Washington of calm, as they call it, that allegedly mastermind campaign against Russia. In the mass media, in the International Olympic Committee and elsewhere. For official Poland, the main enemy is Brussels, which is in reality a feeding hand for the Poles. For Budapest, the major threat comes from the American philanthropist George Soros, who dared to establish and sponsor one of the best liberal universities in the world. Public support, which these politicians enjoy, stems from the persistence of post-communist mentality and disillusionment with liberal democracy. Another reason is immigration. Young, active, fearless people who seek a better life simply leave their home countries. They don't want to fight. A second reason is Russia, and it's specific. The reforms of the 90s, contrary to the expectations of their architects, failed to create a class of responsible owners. In Russia, the largest assets simply changed ownership or were leased out to a retinue of the president, to the people from his close circle. If you don't know the names, look into the Kremlin report. They're all named there. Conversely, power yields money. As a result, bureaucrats turn businessmen and readily harness the law to protect their wealth and interests. Unfortunately, Russia's entrepreneurial class is largely not a sponsor of change. So recovery from authoritarianism now looks for Russia as complicated as post-communist transformation loomed at the start of Gorbachev's perestroika. Russia is a European country. It has been greatly involved in the European politics since the 16th century. A century ago, it became an important economic partner of European states and one of the main destinations for European capital and technologies. Like Europe, Russia has suffered from totalitarian ideologies. More than 2 decades ago, it embraced European liberal ideas. As I said earlier, it quickly rolled back to strong rule. I believe we could have avoided it if Russia were not rejected by the European Union. Unfortunately, the Europeans have not overcome its instinctive fear of Russia and never invited my country to join its great project of a European Union. The Russian elite, since the collapse of the Soviet Union, has remained on the sideline of major global integration processes and has felt largely marginalized. Eastern Europe has achieved much greater success, not because they are better Europeans than Russians, but because they became a part of the European Union, the most powerful force behind democratic transformation. There are reasons deep enough to account for the failure of Russia to build a genuine democracy and the rule of law. But I know for sure that the advent of the rule of law in Russia is not an impossible project, but only one thing that remains to be accomplished. I'm convinced it has to be done in an evolutionary and peaceful, not revolutionary way. I see clear evidence we can achieve it. People in Russia, not all of course, but many enough, are deeply unhappy with the current course of events, notably with the economic condition. Since 2008, Russia's economy is de facto stagnating. The combined GDP growth for the last 10 years is about 5% only, while the real disposable incomes fell again in 2017 for the 4th consecutive year. The government promised a steady economic recovery, creation of millions of new well-paid jobs, and fight against mismanagement and corruption. It failed to deliver. I realize that economic hardships will not shake the political system in Russia. Let's be pragmatic. People's well-being is still considerably better than it was 10 or 15 years ago, and that's a fact. Moreover, propaganda works out well. People daunted by ghostly threats simply do not ask for more. We have to wait for another 6 years to see the people becoming sensitive to economic conditions. Well, unlike Putin, I can't wait. The Russians are generally unaware that Russia is in effect hijacked by the ruling gang. The majority of the Russian citizens still believe, as the old Russian wording says, that the Tsar is good but the boyars are bad. But there is a minority which I pretend to speak up for, who is tied with Putin, corruption and war. The number of dissidents is growing, and it's growing fast. The Kremlin tries to use what we call in Russia spiritual temples to consolidate the society, mostly against those who oppose the incumbent regime. It praises falsified history, glorifies the country's past, propagates religious resistance. The most primitive and aggressive the new ideology becomes, the bigger is the fatigue. But 2024 is imminent, and we should emerge strong and well prepared for that appointment. I believe we should develop a new vision of Russia. Why? Because basic liberal concepts such as democracy, liberalism, rule of law were deeply discredited in the 90s in our country. For many people, democracy and liberal market economy are equal to catastrophic impoverishment and enrichment of the few. All these ideas were so intensively misinterpreted and defamed by the ruling elite that the new generation of Russian liberals have to elaborate an entirely new vision, one that will be promising and yet attractive. The problem is that we have to do it together, bringing in people both from the left and the right of the political spectrum. To do this, we need diversity and multitude. As I'm running out of time, so I will focus more on my strategy and tactics. To change my country in a non-revolutionary way, I'm against vetting for public officials or property freezing or confiscations in my country. I believe that democratic accountability, freedom of the press, and the genuine rule of law will secure public interest better than any repression or abuses. I want a diverse but internally pacified Russia, united by the vision of the future, nor by the hatred towards its past. This is how I see the transition, as a responsible citizen of my country. This new Russia should possess all necessary checks and balances against revival of authoritarian rule. These restraints must be both internal and external. I stand for diminishing as greatly as possible the powers of the president. The only way to achieve it is to transform Russia into a parliamentary republic and to empower the independent judiciary and the responsible legislature. Moreover, I believe that a country like Russia cannot become democratic and free unless it's governed by all its parts and regions. We need to come back to our federal roots. On the other hand, I think that Russian liberal democracy has little chances to flourish without not only strong moral support from Europeans, but without a deep integration into Euro-Atlantic realm. Russia has to stop its confrontation with the European Court of Human Rights. It needs to harmonize its legal norms with the European acquis communautaire. Russia should fully adhere to the UN Convention Against Corruption and join the International Criminal Court. Maybe it's too early to look into the possible consequences of Brexit, but I believe that if it creates a multi-speed Europe with some states incorporated into the European space, but not being formally EU members, it would be the best option for Russia to seek association with Europe through a new generation of treaties. And to finalize, I would like to address the issue of how should the tactics of the Russian opposition movement look like these days. I'm running for presidency, being fully aware that on the March 18th my chances to win are very slim. But my major aim is to provide the Russian dissidents with a voice that may help us to prepare to 2024.